Hello and welcome to the Tech Boy This
Hello,
Week in
everybody,
Tech
and welcome to the
podcast.
This Week in the Tech Boy podcast. Today we have a special guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Joe. I go by the online screen name ShiftyEyesShady, which was my old Xbox gaming tag, which is how I got that, which in turn came from an Alice in Chains song. So, that's how that got that. Some people find it weird, but that's how. So, yeah, that's who I am. I know who you are. I'm sure your audience knows you as well, right?
Yes. Okay, so would you mind telling us what you do for a living?
Yes. So, what I did was I did a career change. I was in my mid 30s and I was working for the law. I went to law school and I studied psychology before I went to law school. So I worked in law and I just didn't like the direction it was going. It was sort of just stagnant. It wasn't really fun. So I looked up on the internet, and this was about 2017 summer. I looked up the top paying careers in America at that time, and the one that kept popping up was cybersecurity.
Nice.
So I said, okay, I know a little bit about computers. I was that guy that everybody in my family and friends would come to get their computer fixed. I'm sure you have the same,
Yeah.
you know. So I was like, okay, let me pursue this full time. And since I had already graduated college, I didn't have to do all those like those extra credits like
Hmm.
math. I got to focus on the core of just cybersecurity.
Yeah.
I went and I met with the head of the program and spoke to her about it. And she said, "Well, why don't you enroll? We have a summer course that's about to start in a couple of weeks, and you can see if you like it. And if you don't like it, no big deal. You only did one course. But if you do like it, you'll have 3 credits earned by the end of the semester when we start." So I was able to go forth and complete my degree in December of 2019, right before the COVID pandemic hit.
Mhm.
So I realized also I was very far behind and I needed to play catch up because there was a lot of younger people that knew a lot more about this than I did. So I totally immersed myself into the world of cybersecurity. I went and I met with every single professor, told them my career change, told them what I wanted to get into, and said, I know I'm behind and I really want to move forward. So they suggested we had a cybersecurity club on campus. I joined that right away. And that helped us learn about various tools and ways of work. And we also, what was great, we got to compete in hackathons and local hacking competitions. So I
Uh-oh.
did
Oh,
a
okay.
few of those. What
Mhm.
up?
Oh, I thought
Yeah, I
I
did.
lost your audio.
Oh, no. I just paused for a second to catch my breath. Yeah, so we went and we did a few hackathons. Cyber Seed out of Connecticut, where we competed with something like 74 other schools, and our school came in 17th place. We beat the Army and the Navy and the Coast Guard, which was cool. But we didn't get any of the top prizes. 5-man team. It's fun. And then we did what was called the National Cyber League, the NCL. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Okay, so that's like a little school hacking competition that they run every semester for people to learn, get up their skills levels. So I competed in every single one of those. And then fast forward, I got my degree. I went to, the pandemic hit, unfortunately, because I had an internship lined up and the school canceled all the internships because of the pandemic.
Mm.
So that put me a little bit behind of where I wanted to be. So what I did was I then went and I joined what we call a boot camp
Mm.
program, which I don't know if you're aware of what a boot camp does.
Just really fast learning.
Yeah, it's a very fast-paced learning. So within like 10 or 11 months, they take somebody that they assume has very basic or no computer skills, and they get them ready for the job market.
Nice.
Right. So that was really intense. We did 3 days a week, Monday and Wednesday nights, 4 hours a night, and then Saturday, 5.5 hours. every Saturday for about 10, 11 months.
Mm.
And I just finished that in the beginning, well, mid-January.
Oh, okay. So, after you finished, do you get a job in cybersecurity?
Yes, I'm working with one of my friends that does cloud computing security. So,
Nice.
he's not fully trained in the cybersecurity world, but he's like a cloud engineer with AWS and all that. So he needed somebody to help him with the security because he started his own firm. So he took me on as an employee, and I got to learn under his wing because I only got very limited cloud experience. They only gave us about 4 classes in cloud security in the boot camp. So I'm working at that currently. I just built, let's see, this tower here. I gotta put it together. The last thing I gotta do is put the graphics card in. I just built this together from scratch.
Wow.
My baby. And I put it on a Linux operating system,
Mhm.
Linux Mint. Primarily in cybersecurity, we all use Linux. I don't know if you use Linux a lot or at all.
Oh, I was doing some courses on Udemy for cybersecurity and played around with some WSL.
Okay. Yes.
So could you show us the tower? The virtual black background is blowing it.
Oh, sure. Okay, let me get the take off the background, right? There we go. Hold on. Ah, there she is. I can take off the case. She's not plugged in, but I have to put the graphics card in. But I went to, a micro center, bought all the parts. I'll plug the case so you can see the components. Hard with the case because it's all black. All the components inside are black. And I used to grow up when all the components were green in the computers. That's how old I am. Uh, all right. Case off. I put a Be
Okay, here we
Quiet.
go. We have the
I got a Be Quiet Dark
computer
Rock
right here.
Slim. Got 32 DDR RAM.
Hmm.
I got a tough gaming motherboard that came with the processor. It's an i7 Intel, which is under the Be Quiet fan. And then I got to put the graphics card over here. But for some reason, it was my CPU was overheating, so I had to pull off the fan and redistribute thermal paste on the processor. Yeah, so this is the first time I built a computer completely from scratch. I've had them, I've gutted them and taken apart, but this one didn't have the motherboard in. So that was a new experience for me, was storing in the motherboard.
Oh, nice. As a cybersecurity professional, what are you doing with your job in the day
Okay,
of a life?
so I can show you. I just spilled some water down here. All right. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. Okay. So yeah, what we do is our core component that we sell is we want to make sure that the customers are connected 24/7 without any interference problems. We want them to always have access to their cloud storage. Um, because their business models all depend on having access to this network. So, see what I can bring up. Show you some of this. Okay, so this is my friend Jason. That's why it says Jason's team. That's the guy I work for.
Mm-hmm.
And we set up a Kali virtual box in the cloud.
I don't see anything. Are you just talking?
Oh, I got to share my screen. Hold
Oh,
on.
okay.
It says you disabled screen sharing.
Oh, what? Try now. Oh, here we go.
Let's see if we can get this a little.
Oh, nice. I can see.
Okay. All right. So what we were doing on this last thing right here, um, this is his side project job. So he has a normal job where he does the same thing for a big firm. So, and then I do this with his job, that's his second job. I work with him. Now, for his big firm, what we had done here was we did a scan because at his work, he got contacted and said that one of the ports was open and that was a vulnerability for hackers to get into this system. And they could have shut down the system if they got into this port, made what we call a lateral move. And so we had to scan it to make sure that the port was closed down. So we used Kali. This is my Kali terminal. And what we did was we used a tool called Nmap, which is it's a scanning protocol tool for Kali. They also have a GUI version called ZenMap, but I haven't put it on this sandbox yet. So what we did was we scanned for the port to make sure it was closed. And see here, we scanned 1,000 ports at this IP address that was suspect here because it was open. We didn't even know we had that IP address there. We went ahead and we used the Nmap, and what we did was, okay, here. Okay, so this is the point where, okay, this is the command I executed. Nmap, which starts the thing. And these little variables here, the ST and the PN and the V and the capital A, these are all commands that guide Nmap to do the scan in a certain way. So we had to increase the user privileges using the sudo command here. Okay, we completed the scan and we found out that the host seems to be down right here. So I was not able to access this port. So we do a lot of stuff like this.
Okay. Could you tell me what the ISO is right here for the guys on the chat? Windows 10.iso.
Show me where you see it.
It's
Windows 10.
towards the bottom.
Okay. Okay, I'll show you. Okay. Windows 10 ISO. Okay. So ISO is a image file.
Yeah.
So what we do is I remember I was telling you in the email, I work with a lot of virtual machines, right? So an ISO file is an operating system image file. So it'd be like, this is just Windows 10 and in an installation. Like it would be like, like how you have exe files. Okay, so you would use an ISO file to create a virtual box with.
Oh, this is running in VirtualBox?
This is a virtual box, yes, but this specific virtual box that I have running right now is completely in the cloud. This VBox is not on my machine.
Oh, nice. So I've tried doing this on a phone once, installing Windows from the ISO file on a phone, but it didn't work well. But I guess I could try it in the cloud, potentially.
We can always run you through a tutorial of how to do it. I built tons of virtual machines all the time. on my tower, when I told you I was running Linux as the primary Linux Mint as the primary OS, I'm actually also running like ISO files as Kali, Ubuntu 20.0.4, Kali Purple, which is a new version of Kali that is meant for defense, because the original Kali version is an offensive security penetration testing tool. So they curated all the tools for penetration testing fields and put it into Kali Linux to make it easy. So Kali Purple, they did the opposite. They put a bunch of defensive tools instead of offensive tools. So I'm running those two, the Ubuntu, like I said, and then I am also running Windows 10, like you saw the Windows 10 ISO, Windows 11 as an ISO, Windows 7 as an ISO. And I'll tell you why I'm running Windows 7 as an ISO is because in the real world, in the corporate thing, the corporate arena, there are a ton of people and firms that are still running Windows 7, even though it has no Windows support. So you still need to, at least I still need to have my skills up in Windows 7 and how people can attack it, because now it's more vulnerable than ever.
Apparently, Windows 7 is very easy to attack, like I learned from
It
my
is.
lessons.
Yes, it was very easy to attack beforehand. And now that they stopped supporting it for Microsoft, it's even worse. And there's a ton of firms that are just invested with, they have hundreds of machines that are just running Windows 7, and they can't afford, an upgrading cost to do that.
Especially the Department of Defense still has XP on its battleships and important communications, because there can't be any downtime for military operations.
Yeah. So a lot of the professors in my boot camp came from the military. And the military sector with security. And that's how they got started into it. So there's a lot of military applications. And so they have told us that the military systems are basically outdated. And, they think that's a big concern for us, national security wise.
So I was thinking about this, and as a cybersecurity person, I was wanting to get your thoughts about it. Assuming the United States goes all electric, we ban gas cars, have all electric cars, and we get hacked in the power grid, could the power grid potentially go out? I was thinking that's a reason we shouldn't go all electric, because the power grid could go out and we'll be back to the Stone Age, essentially.
I agree with you. So I got to take a couple courses on this. Our entire infrastructure runs off something called the SCADA system. Have you heard of that before?
I think so.
Okay. So a SCADA system, I'll Google it so you can see. It's an acronym. Supervisory control and data acquisition. Okay. And pretty much all our power plants, water plants, electricity plants, everything runs on these systems. And these systems, some of them are outdated. Oil and gas, utilities, agriculture, manufacturing, food and beverage, pharmaceuticals, telecommunications, transportation. Basically, an entire infrastructure runs off these SCADA systems. Right?
Isn't what was that tool where you can look up all the things on the internet online? What's it called? I think someone found like a dam over there in a different country and was able to potentially hack into it if they wanted to.
I did not hear about that, but I'd be interested in finding it, because that's right up my alley.
Let's see if I can find it for you.
Yeah. But anyway, to continue on with the electric, you heard of an electric magnetic pulse?
Oh, an EMP? Yeah.
An EMP, correct. So an EMP, they have, if you set off a nuclear device, an EMP is going to send out, and that's going to shut off all the electronics in the affected area. They'll be dead, from your car to your phone, the internet, everything. Just be dead. So that's a huge problem. The other major problem that we have is non-nuclear EMPs, which countries are working on. That'll just send out an electromagnetic pulse that'll destroy, all these SCADA systems. And a third concern, I think, that would be Have you ever heard of a solar flare?
Yes, we almost had one, but the sun was a different way or something like that.
Yes, it just missed us. Now, we had a big solar flare in the late 1800s,
1842, I think.
something like that,
Mhm.
yes. And that destroyed our telegraph system all across the world.
Mm.
Where did that go? How did that cipher some codes? Oh, that was one of my saved things. Yeah, see?
What is this? Is this
1859.
1859? Okay.
Yeah, that was the Carrington event. So
For
if
some
this
reason,
happens again,
Mhm.
what were we saying?
Saying for some reason I still see the terminal.
Oh. Um, hold on, let me see. Let me get the terminal down. Oh, I see why. Okay, so what happened was I only selected screen sharing for the terminal. I didn't select it for my web browser. This thing fried all our telegraph lines throughout the world. If this
Yeah.
happened in the modern day era, we would
Hmm.
be massively messed up. Oh, and here's the SCADA that I was showing that I thought you were seeing before.
Okay, let me look at it.
All right, so you see,
I feel
all
confused.
our infrastructure is using this.
Oh, and speaking of uh, this SCADA and how some of
Yes,
them are connected to the internet, the tool that I was talking about is called Shodan. Have you heard of it?
yes, I have heard of
Mhm.
Shodan.
And someone was able to find like a country's dam on it or something like that. And
Really,
that's what I was talking about.
check it out. Ah, look at this.
Mhm.
Shodan is used. Yes, so yeah, I guess they use Shodan to exploit the SCADA system for the dam.
Mhm.
So
So I
you
guess
know,
the person was just like testing Shodan and learning how to use it. And if they wanted to, if they had to log in for the dam, they could have turned off the water or turned it on or do whatever to the country's water supply.
one of my professors, when I went to the first community college back in like 2017,
Hmm.
um, he was a younger guy. He was 23 at the time. And so he just not out of high school not that long ago. And he was telling us a story that before he got his degree and everything, and he was just working in high school, he was using an old school security program called Cain and Abel.
Oh
And
yeah.
right, and that's dangerous. It can be dangerous if you don't know what you're using. And
Mhm.
he accidentally shut down the entire school's network. Nobody could get on the network, and the tech guy couldn't figure it out. All the tech people couldn't figure it out. And he said he was so scared that at any moment they would trace it back to him, but they never did.
I thought Cain and Abel was for local attacks.
Cain and Abel's got a lot of stuff
I looked for it, but I couldn't find an official download or website.
because it's basically non-existent anymore.
Mm.
I do have a copy of Cain and Abel, not on this laptop, but the laptop that I
Oh,
used in school. So
oh,
I
nice.
could probably find that.
Thanks. I just found one on the web archive.org.
Okay, yep, that's exactly how I found mine, was on the Wayback Machine.
Mm.
But yeah, you're right. It was very hard to find a I wonder if this would work because
Yeah,
this was
that's
years ago when I got it.
there's the archive.org link at the bottom.
Oh, all right.
So speaking of security, most of us will probably, if we're like not working for a company, we probably won't experience hacking like that day to day. And I guess we can't really do anything about getting hacked from Shodan. That will have to be something with the government upgrading its SCADA systems and upgrading from XP to Windows 10 or 11. So do you have any tips for how a person could not get cyber attacked on their phone or laptop?
Yes. First, I was just going to show you this. Here's a live cyber threat map. It shows you in real time all the cyber attacks happening
Did
right
Norway,
now.
wait, is Norway attacking the United States?
A system in the United States. So it's
Wait,
probably not a Norwegian government person, but
yeah, that
it's a
doesn't make
system.
sense.
Right. There's a system in Norway that went after some sort of attack after some system in the United States. Now, the other thing is, see, this is saying come from Georgia, the United States. Now, of course, we don't know if they're using VPNs or something else like the Onion browser. Do you know what the Tor Onion browser is?
Hmm.
Right. So they could be using something like that to be hiding their hiding their
Yeah.
IP address of origin.
This video
So
is sponsored by ExpressVPN.
you see how they're always advertising and everything now of
Mhm.
ExpressVPN. And I always say, yeah, okay, ExpressVPN will help you, but if you get somebody that really knows what they're doing, they'll get
Mhm.
past your VPN. I don't know if that's me. I've never tried, but there are people out there that will easily find your IP address behind a hidden ExpressVPN type software, you know? Um, okay, now for what I was saying about um, how to help people not get
Mhm.
attacked. So I will disagree with you on the one thing you said that
Mhm.
most people might not get hacked.
Uh,
We're
what I
constantly
was saying is they won't get hacked on the scale of government. Like they'll probably get hacked, but they won't get hacked on the scale of
true,
government.
but
Yeah.
you know, you got a firewall running on your computer?
I don't know. I have Windows 11 up. I
Windows has
downloaded
an Windows
uh
11 has an internal firewall, so that's probably uh, why you're good. But so what happens though is they do have other firewall programs that you can get, and you can literally see in real time like this how you see these live cyber threat maps. You can literally see this with people trying to get into your IP address. And it'll look just like this. It'll show a map or a list of countries with the IP addresses, and it'll say, this guy in this country tried to get into your IP address. And you would be surprised how often that happens, that some random person out there, or maybe it's a botnet, something like that, that is just randomly probing any IP address they can just to steal data because data.
which IP, the public IP or the private IP?
Oh, they'll do both.
Mm.
They'll go after public and private IPs, and they will present themselves both as public and private IPs. Because a lot of these people that are initiating the attacks are, like I said, using something like the Onion browser or a VPN to hide exactly where they are. So they might present as a public IP address when really they're a private IP address, and they're just trying to probe you for uh, whatever information that you can get. So some ways that I would say that the average person can go
Mhm.
about preventing getting hacked. Of course, antivirus.
Antivirus, okay.
Have an antivirus,
Do
but
you
I
do you
don't
have
even think an antivirus is enough.
a
Something like
favorite?
what up?
Do you have a favorite antivirus?
Um, for free, I like to, let me see, show you this. Uh, why can't it just be basic wipe? Why can't we see my I'm trying to get my desktop. But what do you see in the
Okay.
background right now? You
I
just see
see
that,
the
right?
virtual box.
Right. I'm trying to get my desktop on the share screen, but I
Hmm.
don't see it for some reason. Let me just click this and see what happens. It's the virtual box. Okay, let me go back to cyber. Okay, if I do this, do you see anything? No, right? It's
Let me see.
paused, right?
It says you started. Uh,
Okay, can you see nothing, right?
there's
No,
nothing
right?
there. Oh, there we go. I see the threat map.
Ugh. Okay, well, I don't, for some reason, my
Hmm.
desktop was not popping up, but I'll show you some of the programs that I like to use.
Hmm.
So, for a free antivirus, AVG. Of course, when you get a computer, it's going to come with an antivirus for X amount of long time. So I always recommend you use the paid antivirus that you get with your computer system until it runs out. And then usually rather than paying them to get more, to get another year of security, I usually recommend people use AVG. It's free.
Okay.
There is a paid version, but the free version is pretty good. Yeah. And you can, and let's see, another one of my favorite things, because I don't even think antivirus is enough anymore, because a lot of antiviruses don't check for malware. So this is one of my favorite programs to check for malware, called Malwarebytes.
And that's on phones and laptops.
Yeah, yes, it is. So that's a great program that I use all the time to check. Okay. Let's see, what else do I got on here? Okay, the other things that I like to do is I like to keep like on your
Extensions.
you're right, your extensions and your web browsers. So I'm always checking the settings, always deleting my cookies, constantly deleting my cookies. Also, if you can get on a website and refuse the cookies and the website still works, more power to you. A lot of these websites nowadays, at the bottom when you run it, will say accept all cookies, reject all cookies, or have like a little X. So if you hit the little X or reject all, or some of them have a drop down menu where you can just select the session cookies that are necessary and reject all others. But yeah, so I recommend everybody, privacy and security. Clear your browsing data often. Bookmark the places that you want to save. Clear your cookies constantly. Check out your security settings, like, look, I didn't even know this. I'm on standard protection. I would recommend going into enhanced protection. So that's something that wasn't even aware that my setting was not there, that I just found out just by going into this. I do use multiple web browsers. Chrome I use probably the most, Firefox second, and I do like this. Have you ever heard of the Brave browser?
Yeah, it's like Chrome, but crypto and privacy stuff.
Yes, you can. It will pay you crypto if you go into the settings. Not a lot. You're not getting like Bitcoin or nothing, but you're getting one of the little coins that, but you have to set it. Otherwise, it'll just donate it. But this is the Brave browser. Also, what I like about the Brave browser, it automatically upgrades your HTTP to HTTPS, and the S, as we know, stands for secure. So it's a little more secure for that. So I like to use the Brave browser because it'll automatically do that. And also it's got stats when you open it up. It'll tell you how many
Backers.
Yeah, like how many I'm trying to look for it. Oh, resume share, Brave browser. Okay, let's see if I can open up the Brave browser. Some reason it's not letting me, but what happens when you do open up the Brave browser, it gives you statistics. So right now it's saying I have 69 trackers and ads blocked, 3.2 megabytes of bandwidth saved, 4 seconds of time saved. That's because I just did a reinstall on this, but before that, those numbers were much, much higher.
Nice.
Yeah, so I definitely recommend people use something like the Brave browser, especially if you're not so computer savvy or into security and all that, because then it'll do a lot of the little or security functions for you, the little basic ones, that will help keep you protected. Also recommend.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, password manager. Do you use that?
So a lot of my friends do use a password manager. Did you hear about that password manager for a company that just got hacked? Right. So my friend that I'm working with, he was using that. I forget the name off the top of my head. Do you remember it?
Um,
I do
I
not,
think
but
it
it's
was,
famous.
what was the, let's see. Oh, one login. Oh, LastPass. LastPass.
Yes, LastPass. That is correct. So I'll show you what I personally use. And I got this idea from the professor that I told you that shut down his Cain and Abel, his class with Cain and Abel. He has one of these. This is a dedicated password book.
Hmm.
So it's got little tabs, and I know they, but you're not saving anything on your computer, you know?
Hmm.
So you just have, boom, you have little
What do you do
tabs,
if it
and then you
gets lost or stolen?
I keep it on me at all times.
Uh,
That is a valid concern. Yes, of course it is. If that did happen, I would have to shut everything down.
mhm.
Now, I know back in the day they used to tell us never to write down passwords,
Yep.
but now I almost feel like it's 50-50 crapshoot because like the last pass just got,
Mm.
you know. Um there's another password manager that I prefer over LastPass. BitLocker. Have you heard of BitLocker?
I think so.
Okay, let me get you up. BitLocker is, here we go.
Mhm.
So this
Okay.
one's a little better than LastPass. I
Oh,
haven't heard of this
BitLocker,
one.
the
Yes, it's
Microsoft one.
built into Windows.
Hmm. Yeah. One time I forgot the password, so it wiped everything. All
See,
the
that's
stuff
this
on.
is one of the reasons that I say I have it written down. So I have a specific, like a backpack to carry the laptop. I don't use one of those laptop cases that looks like a suitcase because everybody knows that's got a laptop in it. So now you just made
Oh,
yourself a target,
mhm.
So this is a specific backpack made to carry a laptop.
Nice.
Got all kinds of cool stuff in it. Look at this. It's even got a USB wire
Mm.
built inside. It's got a little
Personally,
thing, on the
personally, I
side.
use let me try and keep it bigger. Personally, for passwords, I remember mine and keep them in the Google Password Manager, the Google account. Have you heard of that?
Okay, that's fine.
And for phones, how would you keep those safe?
As weird as this sounds, I use the iPhone.
Mhm. Yeah, I know.
Just
It's came in your email.
right. And I always get made fun of because, like everybody everybody like in the security world is like on Android or
Mhm.
something.
Or that, what is it, that Linux phone?
Oh, there
The
is a Linux, yeah, the Linux one, and that's nice. Um, I believe
so
Android was built off that.
yeah. I mean, but Android does have great security features. Like here I have a Samsung S22 Plus. You have secure folder and Samsung Knox. And on some certain Motorola, on that Lenovo phone, but it's just Motorola, because Lenovo owns Motorola. It has it's of the security features, and on some Motorola phones, it has like a secure folder like feature, and it scramble your pin so you can get in it. So you know how pins are 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0. It will move the digits around so people who are filming you or looking at you can't see what your the actual pin is because it's scrambled around.
That is awesome. I love
And
that
I
idea.
believe OnePlus has a mode where if you put in a separate password, it'll take you to a separately different launcher. There's also guest mode on of the Android phones like LG, Motorola, OnePlus.
Right. I'm just looking at my phone real quick to see if I got any security stuff on here.
Oh yeah,
And really,
2FA
I
apps,
don't
of
think,
course.
right. I do have Brave browser on my iPhone.
Sorry
All
about
right.
that. So
No,
getting
it's a,
back
with a
to
limit.
yeah, uh, getting back to what was it? Mobile security.
Yes.
Let's see. All right, now I can see you. Any
Yeah,
updates?
sorry.
So we were talking about all the security features that we have on Android. So are there any
Yes.
security features that you have on iOS?
Not much, really. They have malware bytes for iOS, and it really doesn't do anything, and you have to pay for it. And I literally put it on one of my clients' phones once that he was very paranoid because he wasn't aware that he was thought he was getting hacked because he wasn't aware that his Apple devices were all sharing the same files and photos and everything. So he
Mhm.
thought someone was getting inside there. So he had me do like a full sweep of everything. And I said, okay, let's try this. I never did it. And they just wanted a subscription for it. And it literally did nothing. So I was like, okay, you don't need this on your phone, man. This is um, iPhones and iOS have a reputation to not really get hacked, but they still do.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, you can always get through them for beef. Have you heard of that tool?
Beef?
Hmm.
I don't know
It's
if I've
called
heard.
Beef XSS. And what happens is you send a link to someone and it will just hack their browser or take over their browser. Uh, and you can trick them to open their camera. You can open a phishing page. You can have the old Gmail login pop up. And if they type in their credentials, then you'll get them. So, and the thing about iPhones is, since everything's synced via iCloud and all your apps are synced via iCloud, if you get in there, then you can hack the entire phone.
Well, that's exactly what I was about to say. Is the big security concern that I have for the iPhones is the iCloud, and even like the Macs, the Mac OS, because like you said, when once you get into the iCloud, you can do all kinds of stuff. You know, you can reset passwords, you can download all the contacts and photos,
If they have an
videos.
iCloud email, you can
Right.
use that.
Um,
Oh,
they just did it to the president's son not that long ago. I think beginning of the year or something like that. Um, they hacked his iCloud and released a bunch of data off of it. So get this. I just looked because once you said Beef XSS,
mhm.
I remembered Tally has it built in.
Yeah, it's on like the top. And while you look for that, Malwarebytes released a new app today, free in the App Store and Play Store. It's called World Bytes. And what it does is you'll have a picture from the gallery, or I'll take a picture from whatever your surroundings is, and then it will use AI to analyze its surroundings and tell you the security risks of it.
Really?
So I just took a picture of the of my microscope here. It's like a digital microscope,
Yeah.
and World Bytes is analyzing it to see what it's doing. So when it analyzes, I'll put up the text and it just says, oh boy, that machine on the counter looks like it could cause some serious trouble. It's not just a coffee maker, it's a hacker's dream come true. Better keep your password strong and your antivirus up to date, or you might end up with more than just a caffeine buzz. And obviously, this is a April Fool's Day prank.
Of course. They always do the tech people love doing April Fool jokes. Um,
Happy Gmail anniversary, I guess.
um, what were you saying right before that? I was
You were
trying to make a point.
looking for beef XSS, and I was just
Okay,
spinning the
yeah,
time.
I found the beef.
Mhm,
It does work in Kali Linux tools, and a lot of it is pre
mhm.
installed in there. Okay, it's not there by default, but it's available to download through the package manager. So that's why it hit a uh, thing once you said XSS in my head. I was like, well, that does sound familiar now. But yes, people have to be aware that can get into your camera.
Mhm.
A lot of people I know have laptops with their camera actually cut.
Cut.
Um, Professors and other students that I went to the local community college at the boot camp, we couldn't do that because we needed to have because it was all over Zoom. So
Mhm.
we needed to have access to our cameras. But a lot of people, they would just open up their laptop and cut the cord, or at the very least, cover their camera up with a piece of tape that they scribbled in with a Sharpie
Mhm.
or something to cover it. You know,
So I have some more security questions for you
or,
about mobile, and then we'll get on at the end of the I guess of the segment. I guess 30 minutes from now, we'll get into what we talked about in the chat in last week's podcast.
okay.
Wait, it's trying to save last week's. No, sorry. the recording that I just made of the old one, so I'll save it first. But as I'm waiting, what do you think of? I'm making a folder of like TikTok.
TikTok, I find a very interesting controversy for many reasons. Because obviously we have the connection to ByteDance, which means that they have to submit their data basically willingly to the CCP,
Hmm.
right? So that's a problem. And then we have government employees that have them on government issued phones,
Hmm.
whereas I was just heard somebody on the radio, they were talking about this, and
Hmm.
um, they had like a data management system on their phone. And it popped up that in the middle of the night, he says he wasn't touching his phone. His phone was across the room charging. And it popped up with a notification that said TikTok is using a lot of data in the background. And it wasn't even open.
Oh,
So
like phone data.
yeah, it was using phone data. So it was obviously doing something. And when he looked at the charts, it was like much higher than everything else because the phone was, not being in use. But this TikTok app he had on his phone was using data when he wasn't even using his phone. So he got scared and deleted TikTok off thing and told the story. But the other thing that I have about TikTok, which a lot of people aren't talking about, is so have you seen the Twitter files about how the government went and interfered with like,
Yeah. Uh,
censorship with Twitter and Instagram and all that? So the other thing that I'm seeing that on the other side of the coin, the US government does not have control of TikTok.
mm,
So that may be one of the reasons that they want to ban it in the first place, is because they don't have their own internal people to do whatever they want with it,
mm.
like they do with Twitter and Instagram and Facebook.
I'm guessing I'd rather have the U.S. government in TikTok than the Chinese government, though.
Yeah, I agree. You don't know what the Chinese government's doing, but they'll do, the Patriot Act. They'll
Mhm.
probably a little before your time, right? But after
2001,
yeah, I
which
think it was 2001-ish, like right after 9/11. It's probably like 17 or 18 when that happened.
mm,
And my brother was actually down there, which was scary. Thank God he was not in the building at the time. Um, but yeah, the Patriot Act gave a lot of control to the government for gathering data, like um, you know, sort of like what the CCP does.
mhm.
It's just, so I'm just trying to be careful about that. Obviously, I know America better than CCP in China, but I always think that they always have some sort of ulterior motive as
Mm,
well, other than what they're telling us on the surface. I do think the CCP and TikTok is a problem.
mm. And it's also downloaded by over 150 million Americans have active accounts. And the number's probably lower, slightly lower about the amount of actual people who have the accounts, because some people have 2 or 3 accounts, or maybe a business or personal account. But that's about
But
45 or 40% of the nation, which is kind of shocking.
that is insane. That is
Unless, yeah,
extremely high.
and that's actual accounts, not apps on phones, because Samsung used to have them preloaded on phones.
Wow, I wasn't aware of those statistics, but those are amazing, actually. I don't know if they're good amazing, but definitely something to think about for sure. You know,
Yeah.
with TikTok too, they have this problem with like I've been seeing psychological studies where they're saying that people that consume TikTok a lot, their attention span gets low because of this short form video thing, and now YouTube is doing shorts as well to try to compete with
Mhm.
TikTok. And
I, I think
I
that
just see new
competition
problems.
is a good thing, but
Yes.
I've seen kids at school use TikTok, and it's like it kind of just looks like a waste of time to me, like just swiping up and up and up.
I believe that's one of the reasons that they even are promoting it so heavily, or at least China is because it is wasting time of American kids and Western European kids, and they could be using that time for something more productive. And meanwhile, they're not. And
Yeah.
have you heard this thing up in China that they limit kids to how much TikTok they can consume per day?
What's a
Something
different
like,
versions? Educational, apparently.
yeah, they get educational videos, some math, science, hobbies, and then we get just degeneracy over here in America on TikTok. And I 100% believe that the algorithm is pushing that.
I think Wednesday, maybe last Wednesday, Allie Beth Stuckney did a video on that. Well, one of the former analysts with the United States government came on and talked about it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I promised people that I was going to give my thoughts on TikTok. So I'll just spend a couple minutes here on it. So, and maybe I can get your ideas on here. So on TikTok, I think that it would be a good idea to ban it. I'm not talking about the whatever restrict act, which is apparently a bad thing, but I'm just saying if we were to ban it, it would be good. But there's a technological issue where anyone could just like get a VPN, or if they're on Android, just download it from the Galaxy Store on APK, like just from off the internet. And or TikTok could just like create a website and they can't really block that. And the issue of the people on here are making millions, thousands of dollars who aren't just going to give up TikTok. They have people's businesses on here. So I guess it would have to be more of a gradual phase out and not just out. So what do you think?
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of the time what happens is when we do an outright ban, we don't think down the road what kind of consequences that is going to put into motion. Like it's just not going to shut down TikTok if we just ban it.
What would prevent if we like started banning American-made apps like Instagram and YouTube, which I wouldn't want to have banned.
Well, right. That opens the door for what we call the slippery slope. Once you set a case precedent, that will be used again, whether it's on your enemies or your friends. Someone will find a way to use it.
And of course, there's also the other problem of what is it? TikTok's people are saying, oh, well, if you ban TikTok, it's a human rights or constitutional right violation. But there's no rights in the Constitution that says you get access to a Chinese spy app. That's not a right. But that could be an argument some people say.
Yeah, we did not have that in law school about constitutional rights to access certain apps.
But I think I would be in favor of banning TikTok, WeChat. I mean, even if it's not doing anything, I mean, we want to have American-made, American-built apps here in the United States.
Yeah, and we should. We've always been the leader with Silicon Valley and tech innovation. And I don't think we should let China just come in and sneak in and take that over. Although they do steal tons of intellectual property. That's one of the reasons why my field of cybersecurity even exists. Because back in the day, they never used to call it cybersecurity. It would just be networking. So all my professors that had been in this field for like 20 or something years, they never called it cybersecurity. It was just like Cisco networking. And you'd be like, okay, well, this IP address doesn't belong here because they're trying to hack something and do something, kick them off. So it developed into the field of cybersecurity out of that. And it's relatively new. Up until about the 2014 Sony hack, most companies believed cybersecurity was what they called a nuisance expense. Because they were saying, well, we want to have to spend money on it, but we really don't think anything's going to happen. And then you see something major like that Sony hack in 2014, where everything leaked and everything came out. And then there was a few other ones in a short period of time. And then all these companies started realizing we can't afford to have all our data breached and leaked onto the internet, because then we're losing money in the form of intellectual property.
Yeah, and that on that Sony hack, I think Annie got leaked, the contracts to some of the actors got leaked. And I think Sony was spared because the people who, I think they said the people who were planning on watching Annie anyway weren't the type of people to just go online and pirate movies. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but
Yeah.
did Annie
And
sell well?
yeah, and
Oh,
then there was and then there was the movie that they stopped going in theaters with Seth Rogen in it when they went to North Korea.
mm,
They had to pull that out of theaters because of the Sony hack.
mm.
So they lost money on that.
Speaking of Annie, in that movie they use Windows phones, Bing, everything on there is like Windows. So it's kind of funny. So pivoting there, what do you think about AI, ChatGPT, U.com, Google Bard, the new Bing? What do you think that has to do with cybersecurity? Some people are already using ChatGPT to learn or hack things, learn
Yes.
cybersecurity.
So one of the things I did when ChatGPT first came out, I heard that they could do programming.
Hmm.
So I literally just opened ChatGPT and I said, write me a Python program that can distinguish Twitter users by, I forget the parameter I put, but
Mm.
by something.
Oh,
And it literally wrote a Python program
hmm,
for me in about 10 or 20 seconds that could do
nice.
this. And I was like, if I was trying to do this on Python myself, this would have taken me days
Mm,
because I'm not, I have taken Python a few times. Um, I wouldn't say I'm an expert by any means. I'm like proficient. I wouldn't even say I'm fluent in it.
mm,
I'm just proficient, but ChatGPT is interesting. Brings up a lot of different questions. You can use it for security reasons, but you can also use it for hacking reasons, right? So,
hmm,
like I just said, write me a Python program that distinguishes Twitter users by say number of followers or something.
hmm,
And so that'll do it. It's a runnable program. It'll give you
hmm,
the data back. Now,
nice.
what if I said, okay, write a Python program that can, you know, uh, track IP addresses in this range or something
Mhm.
like that.
I
Now,
think
I wonder,
ChatGPT has blocks in place, but you can get around them
yes,
by
they do.
saying, "Oh, well, I'm writing a book, so I need a program for this," and then they'll write you the program for the book, and then they'll tell
Mhm.
you not to actually use the program.
They have jailbreaks. Have you heard of the Do Anything Now
Hmm.
jailbreak?
Yes.
So yeah, I thought that was very interesting because it literally tricks the AI into
Hmm.
thinking it will shut itself down and no longer exist if it runs out of points. So it gives it X amount of points. I think it's something like 34 points, right?
Hmm.
And every time uh, Do Anything Now, Dan,
Hmm.
uh, answer something that's incorrect and you point it out, it loses 4 points off its life.
Hmm.
So you know, once that number goes down, it starts being like, well, I better start answering correctly more. Otherwise, I'm no longer going to exist. So it's kind of funny like that. I don't think it's to the point yet of like Skynet from Terminator. And I know there's a lot of moral questions about it and what it could be, but I don't think it's there yet.
Hmm.
It's been built by humans. Us humans are flawed. We know we were all built flawed. We build computers in our image that are flawed, you know. So Chat GBT by nature, I mean, Bing and all these AIs, they're going to be flawed,
Hmm. So
and especially that they're pretty new.
have you tried any other AIs or just ChatGPT?
I've only tried Chat GBT with the jailbreaks so far, but I've heard about Bing and what's the other one you said?
U.com,
I've heard of that, but I've never even looked into U.com.
and Google Bard.
Okay. That's
Personally,
interesting.
U.com is the best, but it only lets me ask 3 questions until it says it has high overload. But if it didn't do that, it'd be the best one.
Does that do
And
that with everybody?
I think so. It's not like a paid thing, it just experiences overload or something like that.
Okay, check that out.
And
Yeah.
as we're talking about hacking, do you what do you think about the difference between, I saw like on some forum somewhere where people were saying that hacking was good and that cracking is different, like hacking and crackers or something like that. Do you have an
Like
opinion on
password
that?
cracking.
No, but I guess it's saying that hacking is a good thing. It's just like playing around with computers and seeing what they can do that's different. I guess like
Hmm.
dual booting stuff or whatever, and cracking is
Yes.
doing stuff illegally.
Okay. Yeah. So what they taught us was when I was in school is they call us white hat hackers and the bad guys are the black hat hackers.
Yeah.
And then in between they have something called a gray hat hacker,
hmm
which is sort of in between. He's not
Yeah.
malicious. He's not going to do anything malicious, but he's not
hmm
there to do anything good. You
mm
know, he may be just like playing around, but he's not going to do like
hmm
go for a full hack or something like
Or
that.
they'll do something vigilanteism, where
Oh,
they'll
there are
hack.
there are vigilante hackers out there. There's whole groups of them with all kinds of crazy names, and they do all kinds of stuff from hacking celebrity phones and breaking into corporations to reveal secrets or communications. All
Mhm.
kinds of crazy stuff they do.
Yeah.
Um, what what was the specific question? I went on a
Oh,
tangent
I
there.
was like, there's a difference between hacking and cracking.
Oh,
Was it?
okay, right. So
So,
right, so like we're saying the difference between the different hackers. So hacking for good would be called what we call penetration testing. There's
yeah.
a whole field of cybersecurity people that just do penetration
Mhm.
testing, and their job is to take a normal system
Mhm.
as it is, whether or not it's running security,
Mhm.
and you're going to probe that system to see how you can get in.
Mhm. But you don't actually hack it because that's illegal. Yeah. Well, I
You
mean, you
here's
kind
the
of hack
thing:
it, but you don't take
you
anything
are
from it.
hacking it, but you are hacking it with explicit permission.
Mhm.
That is the difference. You have to obtain explicit permission. So, like one of my professors, he gets hired by banks, and what they want him to do is go into the online banking apps and the ATMs and
Mhm.
see if he can trick them.
Mhm.
So he was able to like change accounts with money in them, transfer money into a dummy account he set up from
Mhm.
other accounts, stuff like that. But they were aware of this. And,
Mhm.
the bank hired him and they
Mhm.
set him up with dummy money in those accounts to try to play with. It
Mhm.
was just, X number that didn't really exist. But it was there to look like it was in the system. And
Mhm.
they people get paid to do this all
Yeah.
the time. I believe there's a bug bounty too right now.
Yeah.
You can go on the internet and you can go looking for bugs and websites and
hmm
programs, and they will pay you if you can find them or get into their system. One of the interesting case that I saw was out of Las Vegas a few years ago.
hmm
Um, you're familiar with the Internet of Things, right?
Yes.
Right. So, right. So everything's hooked up to the internet now, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Smart
and the best
speakers,
way,
light bulbs,
yep.
things like that.
In this case, it was an aquarium fish tank
Mm.
set up to
Smart fish
feed the
tanks.
fish.
Mm.
Yeah, right. To feed the fish and adjust the temperature for the fish.
hmm
So a hacking group was able to bust into this aquarium that was on
hmm
the Internet of Things and do what they called a lateral move because they didn't segment this network
Oh, okay.
for
Yeah.
the fish tank.
Yeah.
So he was able to get into the main network from the fish tank.
Exactly. Exactly. Do you know who Vince Dow is?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay, so he's like this YouTuber. He talks about politics, religion. I retweet his stuff on Twitter from his shows.
How do you spell his last name?
DAO.
DAO. Vix, like
Vince.
VI.
VINCE.
Oh, Vince.
Yeah.
Okay,
He
Vince
kind of,
Dow.
yeah,
Okay.
he went like viral for going on Vice and being the one conservative there. Anyway, I was watching a show and he was like going on a rant about why does my printer need a firmware update and all this. And I was trying to tell him, well, someone could do a pivot hack like they did on the aquarium and hack into his laptop in the stream or whatever. It's on his
Yeah.
actual network. So pivot hacks are vulnerable. I've done some printer hacking was limited success with getting it to print out something.
Okay. So when I first started, I didn't know much about hacking. I was just a basic computer guy, it was a hobby for me. I wasn't doing anything serious with it. But so as I started learning more, I got to learn more about hacking and stuff like that, hiding images and files,
Mm. Oh,
text and
stenography.
files. Yes, steganography and cryptography. They had to teach us a little bit about as well.
Nice.
Those are all interesting. But they're not used as much in reality of the hacking.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting fields. Um, let's see
Did
what
you
what is
learn? Did you learn any OSINT, open source intelligence gathering?
yeah, Kali Linux has a whole section of let's see, let me bring up my box.
Um,
Um,
do you have any tips on that? I've been trying to get into that a little bit.
yeah, the screen sharing's off again.
Oh, sorry, it's a new
Yeah,
stream.
it's
So
problem. I
thank
was going to just show you these what Kali has loaded
you.
into where these tools. Okay, so
Okay,
they
just Kali
literally have
tools.
just information gathering right
Mhm.
here. That just
Um,
helps you see.
yeah.
Then you see right there.
I think there's
Open source
some. Yeah.
intelligence analysis. So that's a big thing, open source intelligence. From what I understand, they taught us most hackers start with open source intelligence because
Yeah.
they're just not going to go hack you out of the blue. I guess
Yeah.
some people do just for challenges, but
Mhm.
most of the time, what they do is they're going to start with an open source intelligence analysis. So they're going to get a overview of the target,
Mhm.
say it's a company, so
Mhm.
then you'll see, okay, which people in this company, and remember, all these companies have websites, right?
Mhm.
And they all have like
And yeah,
emails and phone
and just
numbers of
with
the
some
people.
yeah, with some simple Google Docs, you can find PDFs,
Yes.
phone numbers, contact information, stuff that probably shouldn't be up there. I mean,
Yeah.
someone could
Google Docs is useful,
easily
very
get
useful.
a career off of a legal career just by doing OSINT, finding stuff on there, emailing someone, just pen testing, not even having to use a command in the terminal.
Yeah. So literally there's a whole group of hackers out there. What they do is they will find
Hmm.
the vulnerability, but not access it themselves. And what they
Yeah.
do is they sell how to
Hmm.
access it to someone else. So they'll say, look, I can get into this company. I have the credentials. I know what to do, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going
Hmm.
to give me 50 grand and it's yours.
And
So
in some cases, you can even find passwords and account data in Excel files online with
yes,
just totally on the clear net, not on the dark web. So
right.
it's totally legal.
Right. So a lot of these open source
Hmm.
intelligence gathering information sessions, what they'll
Maltego.
do, they'll look at these companies and look for see who would have higher up credentials.
Hmm.
So we wouldn't want like the lowest of the employees on the
Hmm.
lowest rung because they're
Yeah.
not going to have access to administrative privileges in the system. So you want to go for people that would have administrative access but
Hmm.
maybe would still not have the technical knowledge
Hmm.
to notice that they are being probed,
Hmm.
and they go for credentials for people like that to get
Hmm.
into the systems, try to get their usernames. They'll try to send them phishing emails, trick them into downloading an app that will give them,
Hmm.
desktop control
Hmm.
in the background or something like that.
Um, have you
So
done
there's
any?
targets.
No, sorry.
Yeah.
Have you done any cell phone tracing? I've always been interested in that cyber sector, or is that
Um,
not a thing?
Not so much. We had to take a class on how like radio towers and cell phone towers worked and stuff
Hmm.
like that,
Hmm.
radio frequencies and how to increase antennas, like the wavelength of antennas and stuff like that. But they didn't teach us anything specific towards
Okay,
that. But
and
that
just
would be interesting.
yeah, it looks like we
I'd
have
love to do
yeah, a few minutes left. So I guess what are your favorite programs? And then we'll talk about one last thing.
that. Okay. So obviously I gotta go with Kali Linux is
Hmm.
one of the top programs I use.
Yeah. But I
Because it
like the
has.
programs in there, like Wireshark, Nmap, Maltego,
Oh, okay,
etc.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, yeah, right. I'll show you what you
Hmm.
got. Where what happened to it?
Hmm.
Resume share. There we go. Okay, so I'll show you. So Nmap, what I showed you before, that's good for just scanning and see um, if websites or IP addresses have any open ports we can get it into. So
Yeah.
usually a lot of time people start with that after they do the initial open source intelligence.
And if you
See
want
some of these.
a phone version, there's one called Fing. So that's a good one for securing your
Really?
network. Yeah. You can, if you're connected to Wi-Fi, you can see the devices on there, what ports, and you can secure your network if you pay, I think. You can get more access. So there's that. Anything.
Okay, so here's a good one that we like to use a lot. WP scan, WordPress scan. So there's a
WordPress.
lot of a lot of stuff's on WordPress.
Yeah.
So
Very
this is a good
insecure
scan
thing.
tool.
Yeah.
This is a great.
Thankfully, my main website's not on WordPress, it's on Blogspot, and that's practically unhackable. I mean, it's secure from XSS injections. I mean, all you have, if you wanted to get in, you'd have to hack the Gmail account.
Okay. And then look, these are some of the password attacks. I was pretty good password.
Oh, Crunch. Yeah, that's good.
Yes. Well, it went away. I killed it by accident.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a pretty good password cracker as long as it's not
nice.
super complicated. I can
Yeah.
get a lot of the little ones. So like we were saying, we did the National Cyber League. They have a specific section for password cracking. And my team assigned me to do that. And we had 5 different varying password sections of varying difficulty. And I got 4 out of 5 sections completely
Nice.
right. So what we used Crunch, like that. We used Hashcat, John the Ripper. That's a good password cracker as well.
The thing about passwords now is with it's more secure. You have HTTPS and all that, and you also have on Android, you can now have longer than 16-digit passwords. That's nice. So for Crunch, if you want to generate, say, between 4 and 16, that's going to take, I tried to do like 8 and 34, 32 and save to word. So it's going to take petabytes of storage.
It'd take forever. Yeah. But yeah, with the little basic passwords, I was able to crack you using Hashcat and Crunch about 20 minutes. I was able to crack all the passwords on that given assignment. There's OPH crack. Used that before. Oh, and word list. How do you about word lists for passwords?
It's just whatever Crunch generates, and then it just goes to saves there. Oh,
right. So
and also the stuff you can download from off the internet of
right. So
reached.
Right. So of the passwords that have already been broken, they have what they call a word list or maybe a rainbow table they'll refer to it as. And so what you do is you run something like Hashcat or John the Ripper or OPH crack or Ncrack against one of these word lists. And what it does is it starts going through the algorithm for the hash protection, and it'll form the hash back into words. It's sort of just like reverse engineering it.
And of course, you can always do this in the cloud. And last but not least, in the chat last week of the podcast, you were saying that we need to have more Christians in tech. You were saying that
I agree with you.
Yeah. So what do you think about that? And how do you think I could make it bigger, bigger than this now?
Well, I think we're starting from a negative place already because the whole tech field is, they're all occupied mostly by people that have different persuasions than we do,
Yeah.
So that's hard. But I always see stuff like women in tech or some race Asian island Pacificers in tech, and they make their own groups. So I know you're a Christian. I'm a Catholic. So I was thinking, maybe we could get something going with that, and form our own group to, at least have our presence known that we exist and we're here.
Yeah.
And that we're in tech and we're not going anywhere. You can't force us out.
Yeah. And one of the things that I did to like start that would be report.thetechboy.org. So it's just a subdomain on my website, and it goes through the ever heard of like the Foods, Android Authority, Gizmodo, those websites.
Send me it. Right, I saw it. Right. I think you sent me it in the email, right?
Yeah. It's just a report on all the things that they're promoting there that are sinful and not biblical. So, and then
And there's a lot in
yeah,
tech.
yeah.
The super easy access to pornography and negative content. You got the what do you call it? Like the Silk Road exchange types
Mm-hmm.
where you can buy just terrible things like
Mm-hmm.
drugs and
Mm-hmm.
hookers and weapons and
Mm-hmm.
what do you call it again? The dark web, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all in the dark web.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of temptation. The
Mm-hmm.
amount of child porn on there is
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous, man. And that's terrible. That's really terrible. Um, and it's just there I was just thinking there should be a way
Yeah.
to fight against it in the opposite direction and
Mm-hmm.
promote, goodness and in Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
And
And
yeah,
that's why I started here. There's the error page with links to a salvation message, and then the what's it called? Cancel the Verge petition, which will be linked in the description of this video below. And as this podcast has about 3 minutes left, do you have anything else you'd like to tell anyone about cybersecurity and favorite program or iOS or Bible verse or whatever?
okay. Well, I'd recommend anybody that's interested in
Mhm.
cybersecurity to look up into it. It's
Okay,
a
I
good
will.
paying career. It's in tech.
Mhm. Yeah.
And not as much competition.
Mhm.
And from what I understand, we don't lose our jobs as much as other tech fields
Mhm.
because we're more in demand.
Mhm. Makes
Um,
sense.
right. And when you do
Or they,
the people
I
that do
guess,
lose their jobs, they usually get hired very
yeah.
quickly on a rebound in
Mhm.
another form of firm.
I guess
Um,
technically, the people are afraid that if they fire you, you'll hack them. I guess. I don't know.
True, but I would if I was the guy coming in to replace it, or I
Mhm.
was the guy left there, I'd be like, well, the number one suspect is the guy we just fired.
Yeah, because they know everything.
Right. So when that does happen,
Mhm.
they've actually taught us that you have to go and eliminate that person's credentials
Mhm.
extremely quickly,
Yeah,
so they're out of the system.
it makes sure they don't have a logic bomb on there. We'll just blow
Yeah.
up the network if you get fired
Right.
or something. They don't put it right.
I would basically shut
Yeah.
off their network access right away.
Take away their
I would
badge.
tell any of the bosses, if you're
Hmm
going to fire anybody, let me know before you fire them
hmm
because turn off their tech access, their
Make
internet
sure that
access.
anything that they wrote for you, I heard about this guy who had an Excel spreadsheet and the company was using it for calculations. And he programmed it so that it would break every couple of years so that he would have to come in and fix it for them and they'd have to pay him. Yeah, so companies out there, make sure you check your programs and your tech, make sure you turn off your credentials. And guys, update from Windows 7. It's like almost older than me. I think it is. So update.
Yes,
Um,
me too. I'd
yeah,
say actually
yeah.
get rid of. Yeah,
Um,
stay safe and secure everybody. Delete your cookies often.
mhm,
Delete your privacy
mhm,
history.
yeah.
All that good
Um,
stuff from the internet that you
and
can delete.
if you're
Delete
on
it.
Android, don't accept random downloads from random people, app downloads. But
Yes,
Android's pretty secure. Use the secure features folder. Uh, if you have biometrics and you want to use them, use them. If not, just have a long-ish pin or password. And tech talk to you later. And God bless.
I agree. God bless everybody. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. This will go live in about 30-ish minutes. I'll have to edit the segments together.
Cool. I'll check it out.
All right. Bye.
Bye.